This is a wreck that I bought from a customer, and we're going to get in here and take out the fuel pump and the fuel pump controller and all that stuff. So come on in, let's take a look here. Basically, I got all my tools of the trade. One thing that I'm really happy to find is that whoever was in here last actually installed this piece on top of everything else. You see, like right here and here. So I can actually just remove this and get the fuel pump out easily enough. Okay, lift, and then pull out the two tabs. We will be exposed to the thing we need. Now this is interesting. It looks as though someone has been here. Not exactly sure what that means. Anyways, surprise, surprise, huh, Sarah? So here's the pump. So normally I'd have a hard time unplugging these because they're all stiff and everything, but this is a piece of cake. Although, hold on. No, that's got kind of a bit of a seal to it, so I don't think anyone's been in here recently. And then here's our pump, actual pump. See this stuff? All this junk here? Especially if I were working on a car where I was concerned, I would get carb cleaner and just clean this all off and let it drip on the ground. And actually I'm going to do that now anyways, just because I hate working with a dirty surface. So here I go. So while this is still bolted down and held in with these small little bolts here, I'm going to go ahead and pull these clips off. And the reason why is the removal of these hoses, especially on a car that you intend to have run in the future again, right, is going to be 10 times easier if you do it while it's anchored and not going all over the place. So I'm going to switch bits here until I get to a smaller one so I can undo that one pressurized fuel clamp. And let's walk this beauty off as well. And let's see how much luck I have doing this without the benefit of my heat gun, shall we? Well, that's not too bad. This one's really on there. I'm probably gonna, let's see. Well, you know what? This is a donor car. I'm gonna cut. The audience is sitting there, why aren't you just cutting? And the answer is, I am. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys, so these are the shortest bolts you've ever seen in your life. But also, keep your finger on these things so they don't go falling into the tank or something stupid like that. Alright. Now, my beautiful clean rag. If this was a customer car, right, you're going to want to take this out very carefully. Now there's a bunch of stuff hanging off here, like all these, like a level sender and the pump and itself and all sorts of other stuff. You got to be careful. I'm pushing all the hoses out of the way with my fingers, getting them underneath this lip here. And there is a special way to do this, which I will remember after a bit of trial and error, because I always have to remind myself how it goes. Hold on. It's like forward, and then no, it's this way. It takes me just a second. There's definitely a technique to it. And this doesn't make things any easier, right, having the interior here. That's right, you twist this circle around. Twist the circle around. There's that. Let's see how we did here. It sounded worse than it was. Trust me. And boy, she has a full tank of gas there. I wonder if it's race gas, because she was at Laguna Seca the last time she drove. And you can see how delicate this whole thing is as it's coming out here. It's got to come over on this side a little bit, Rob. All the way over to the other side of the car. And you can see this long arm here for the fuel sender that does not wish to be bent or harmed as it comes around the edge there. And again, I'm trying to back up as much as I can and let these guys coexist in peace with all the rest of the elements. And oh my gosh, it's a boy. Here's the pump. Now, I'm gonna just give you a quick clinic that's probably the single most important thing that I can tell you. You see this? Come on in on this. You see that clamp right there and that clamp right there? WTF. Okay, now these are the double-lined clamps. They are definitely heavy duty. They'll hold, like, you know, oil pressure and all that other stuff. This is what Nissan's kind of gone to on everything later in life. Replace this hose. Replace this hose and put standard clamps on here. Throw these away because number one, they're not reusable. And just put a standard fuel clamp on there like this, right, with a good screw on it and all that other stuff. I like to put it in a little small Allen bolt in there instead, made of stainless steel, because I think that it, you know, handles a lot more of going back and forth kind of thing. Because this is the most common problem of losing fuel pressure after turning off the motor or turning off the pump for older cars. This is a big secret. You just replace this little bugger, and don't go using 5/16 Gates hose or Goodyear hose. Use Nissan hose. It's metric and it's the right size. Think about this. In my case, I'm going to put the actuator for the shocks in the car on all four corners. I need this computer. So what do? Do you just like unplug this thing and then take this away here? If you can unplug it. Point is, no. What you're going to want, this car's dead, right? As much wire as you can get. Take it with you. Now, of course, you're never going to wire this harness all the way through the door and all the proper places that it goes, okay? But now, I have the keys to the car, so to speak. I just unwrap all this stuff, figure out what red, brown, yellow, and black and all that other stuff does, and wire it throughout the car just like you would a stereo. And you have twin turbo shocks. But you have to get this extra bit of, you know, what they'll call the pigtail, right? Because if I just walked away with this and said, ha ha, I've got twin turbo shocks now, then you'd kind of go, oh. When you got back home and you realized you were missing this, it would suck. So, this, I don't need this, of course, because it's the same plug going into either fuel computer, correct? Correct. So here we go, we're just taking this off. One bolt and it's off. And I'm going to walk right in here and write the words T on here so I don't misplace it or forget what it is. And just in case some time lapses between the time that this comes out of the car and it goes into the recipient car. So Rob asked an interesting question. On the original 2+2 twin turbo swap video, I talked about the fact that the sender and everything and the oil, the gasoline pickup strainer on the 2+2 is completely different than a coupe. This is a coupe, it's going into a coupe. If I really wanted to be ghetto, I could just drop this in, plug it in and go. I keep telling you, you gotta, redo this hose. Now, the same thing, basically whatever it takes to redo this hose is the thing that you would do in order to swap the pump out. What part is the pump? The pump is just this black barrel, okay? So you undo all the things that are connected to it, and I mean everywhere, very carefully, undo stuff, and take the black barrel out, which is the pump, set it aside, and then do the same thing to your 2+2 configuration, pull that pump off, and then, put everything back together very, very carefully, use a new piece of hose, 2 new clamps, put in everything here and around here, and then it would be set up for the 2+2. And the thing that sucks is this whole job, if you're going slow and being careful, it can take like 30 minutes probably, just sitting there and thinking about what you're doing and being careful. Heated this up a little bit with the heat gun. This was inserted very easily. I've already got this one clamped to keep it from walking up too far. Pull this clamp down here and get it into place. I'm a little bit ape with the Allen screws. I love these little Allen bolts. Looks like it's going to be a little bit crowded, but I'll live. I'll just move that back when I'm done tightening it down. Anyways, you flip this around. Grabs right there. Watch out, don't bend this guy. Flip this around, grabs right here. So what you want to do, right, is make sure that this stuff is oriented before you go clamping, okay? Take this little guy, see this in here? Get on inside there. And insert and click it into place. This little bugger. Again with this, man. So we can line this up. Find a hole. There it is. Click it into place. Now, I just get my little T-handled Allen wrench. Be careful not to let it dig into the positive terminal there, that would blow. More ways than one. So get the T-handled wrench in there. Watching out for this guy down here. That's plenty tight. Okay. And be sure to put your little tube back on. And this pump is ready to go back in the car. Now we got to go pull the other pump out, which is another bit of work, which sucks. So this is the part about doing the swap that I like the least, probably. My own car, right? I just bought this used from somebody a few months ago. I haven't really gotten into it yet. Getting in close on this. Ah! Damn it, that's so gay. I hate it when people do that. All right, let's take a look up here and see just how screwed we are. And come over the top here, light it up for me. Same thing! Plastic thing is over the top of this. It doesn't need to be, but it is. So now I have a whole bunch of extra make work just to frickin'... All right. Okay. So we're ready to put in the fuel pump into our coupe. Now notice I did not go and cut the high pressure line because of course these I'm going to reuse. Now I'm using a heat gun. Here's the big disclaimer. I'm not going to take any responsibility for anything stupid anyone does with a heat gun, but I trust this heat gun enough to not generate sparks. And that's the thing that's actually going to cause gasoline to ignite. So since it's freezing ass cold outside, I've been heating up these tubes and easing them off very nicely. And I feel confident that that is a safe thing to do. You need to decide for yourself what is a safe thing to do. Here we go. Now I have to keep track also of which ones I backed the clamps onto the actual tube itself, or which ones I took off and set aside. You will be a very sad panda if you go and put these tubes on and you realize you ain't got no clamp. It would suck very much for you. See how this interior piece is still on here right here? Well, even if you undid it and removed it, this stupid bracket is still here as well. There are ways to install this pump without and make very bad sounding noises. But still have it be an okay thing. And that's what we're going to do right now. Installation is the reverse of removal, as they say. And it is always a hair-raising experience. You just kind of have to feel what you're doing and use brain power, which I don't always have in abundance. Now, another thing you're going to need to do is make sure you don't take the actual big, giant, 6-inch O-ring and just knock it inside the gas tank. Why do you think I know that? Because I've done it before. Okay, I have to back up and sort of reverse a move here and do something. There we go. And there's the bad noise. Twisting everything around, being very careful. Move these things out of my way with deftness and finesse. Put these clamps on here. I'm going to try something here and see if I can at least just start these tubes onto their prospective homes before I settle it down, so that I have a little bit of wiggling room just to get them started, you know what I mean? This one is presenting itself as a problem child to us. Let's see what we get. Nothing quite like having these long extended pliers with the different tips on them. They rock. I just want to get it started, right? Get it in the mood. Alright, that's actually the most difficult one. Now, this one I think will follow suit pretty easily. So it looks like we're discovering our order, right? Which way to put them in. I'll probably heat that up in a second. Let's try that. I know this is giving people butt pucker, but again, sparks, not necessarily heat. And I am setting my heat gun down onto something solid and metal, because right now the tip of it is extremely hot, and it is not going to be the kind of thing you want to set down on some interior bits. You're going to be pissed off. Now these little guys, I'm really going to admonish you to start them, if at all possible, with your fingers. Okay? Because if you strip these guys, you will also be a very sad panda. I got one of these electric guns. I got a feel pretty much for what kind of torque this thing applies. These things are small, wienery little bolts. They don't need a lot of torque, okay? Like, I've got it set for like next to nothing. Don't go honking these things on really hard. That's just stupid. Okay? If they strip, you'll smell gasoline the rest of the time. you're driving your Z, and it'll suck for you. I decided to go with yellow, because we may actually paint this car yellow at some point, and even though we're not going to paint it in here, it's sort of like my mascot, you know, like I know that, it's like knowing that your underwear is on right, you know? Sort of. If that makes sense, Rob.
No.
Yeah, Rob is just speechless at this point. Speechless, I tell you. Alright, finger tight first. Alright, finger tight.
Yes.
Alright, there's one. And a wah frickin' law.